So being with you guys for all these years, driven 7, I'll be here for number 8, 9, 10, 11. As long as Albert will have me, I'll keep coming here. But today we're going to have a really blunt discussion. Is that okay? We all grew up thinking it's rude to talk about money. And I think it's rude to not talk about it. There's a lot of people in our friends, families, that just don't know anything about money because it was rude to talk about it. They definitely didn't learn it in school. Anybody learn about money in school? Not at all. We didn't learn about taxes, income, apartments, loans, banks, FICO scores, nothing. We learned about none of it. And then we couldn't talk about it in our households either, at all, because it was rude. So today I want to have this blunt discussion and go over why you need to get wealthy. There's a difference between getting rich and getting wealthy. Your career can make you rich. Your career, no matter how lucrative it is, cannot make you wealthy. And why do you need to become wealthy? All of you in this room are going to live a lot longer than your parents. Raise your hand if you have kids. Most of your kids are likely to live to over 100 years old. Some of them are going to live to 110 and 120 years old. You know why? When we grew up, it was like 7-Eleven on every corner. We get like a 64-ounce Slurpee. There was no Whole Foods. There was no health food stores. There was no Equinox in gyms on every corner. There was no First Form supplements. There was no healthy meals. There was no blood work. We didn't have fancy hospitals everywhere. We didn't have the things that we have in modern day society just 20 years ago. 15 years ago, none of you had a smartphone. Have you ever thought about that? Right now, you feel like you can't live without it. 15 years ago, it didn't exist. There was no healthy versions of life the way it is now. And the reason that I'm saying that is, if you retire at 65 to 75, and you're going to typically right now live to 83 for men, 85 for women, you need to have about 15 or 20 years of money saved up. What if your kid lives to 112? They're still going to want to retire at 65 to 75, right? Now they need 40 years of money saved up. Just think about that for a second. Even if their lifestyle is 40 grand, 50 grand, 60 grand, 80 grand, times that by 40. So right now, you need to have $1 or $2 million saved up to have a retirement for 20 or 30 years. What if you live to 108? And nobody has these discussions. I know we're going down a bit of a rabbit hole, but it's because you have to have discussions about investing, and that's what we're going to do today. Who here in this room is already a millionaire or going to be a millionaire in their lifetime? Well, with that comes a lot of responsibilities. You're going to have people asking you to borrow money. You're going to have people expecting you to pay for every bill. You're going to have people expecting you to pay for travel and every little detail of life because, well, you're rich. It's okay. Imagine that for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and 40 years. It's easy for a lot of athletes, entertainers, celebrities, influencers, people that you may know that have made a bunch of money and then gone broke. And it comes from them not investing and having too high of an overhead. The reason you're seeing a lot of companies fade away during the last year or two is because their overhead was too high and they didn't adjust in time. And they didn't have these honest discussions early, these blunt discussions early. So I'm going to walk you through my 40-40-20 investing, which I've talked about before, but I'm going to do a quick, faster version, and then I'm going to switch over to personal branding. So in the 40-40-20, as you guys may have heard me talk about, I do 40% low risk. I want to make between 5 and 9% for the year. I do 40% medium risk. I want to make between 10 and 30% for the year. And I do 20% high risk. I want something big to happen. I want some huge thing to happen that I make 2x or 5x or 10x. I want something crazy to happen. And if I get that wrong, or it just takes too long, I'm hoping that the medium risk and the low risk covers the high risk. Does that make sense? And so for my whole life, I've done this very simple strategy. I put money into boring investments that make me 5%, 7%, 9%. I put money here into 3 categories: real estate, stock market, cash flowing businesses. And then I put 20% or less into these. These being angel investments, cryptocurrency. I've done 43 angel investments. My angel investment checks range from 50K, 100K, 250K, 500K. Times that by 43. Sounds like a lot, but really that's over the last 8 or 9 years. So I'm only picking 3, 4, or 5 companies per year. I'm not out just picking any company or someone just pitches me and I automatically invest. I have to be picky because I want to reduce my risk. And each thing that I'm going to talk about is for you to decide for yourself, how risky of an investor are you? When I talk about making 5, 6% a year, that makes you happy? When I talk about 10 to 30%, was that interesting? Or was it only like, oh yeah, I want a crazy investment to make 500%? You have to learn for yourself as you hear about these different investments, what type of investor are you? What makes you tick? I know that I want to gamble, right? I know that I love it over here. It's fun over here. It's exciting. Investing in this business, that company, that company. Oh, she's an amazing entrepreneur. Boom, here's 250K. I wish I could do that all the time because that's what I want to do. But my rational brain says, do real estate, do the stock market, cash flowing businesses, and my frustrating is do boring investments because my mom wants me to. And so my mom wants me to do boring investments. I'm going to do that over here to make her happy so she doesn't think I'm just out there investing in all these different things left and right. The boring investments will surprise you. What do I mean by that? Right now, household name banks will give you CDs at 5 and 6% a year with 100% guarantee. That is insanity. For all these years, it was like 2%, 4%, 1%, 3%. 5 and 6% a year from something that's not 99% sure, it's 100% sure. There are T-bills that you can buy that are like 4 and 5% for the year that you have no risk on. That's insane. Why would you want to make 4%, 6%, 7%? One is to fight inflation because we're going through an inflation year after year after year, and we're about to go into an election year. So inflation is not getting any better. Depending on who the president is, it can go one of 2 ways. It's not going to go that much less, but it definitely can get a lot worse depending on who gets picked. I don't want to talk about that. And inflation can adjust because of war. Obviously, we're in turmoil right now. If actual wars happen or like World War III happens, inflation can go through the roof. That's called hyperinflation. Hyperinflation could be 13%, 14%, 15%. If we go into hyperinflation, you need to have guns because it's going to get really scary. Hyperinflation, it puts us in a place where people can't afford milk, bread, water, gasoline. We're already at a point where milk, bread, water, gasoline type things that used to be $2 are now $4. Used to be $3 are now $6. Remember when gas was $3 and now it's 5 and 6? That's not 9%. That's 100% inflation. You see the problem? 3 years ago, we got a new president and our gas went from $3 to $6. I'm not just blaming him, but the math is the math. The timing of the situation going into election year and having things that are happening in the media, we might go into even higher inflation. Why does that matter for you? Your normal daily spending on gas, food, accessories, clothing, parking, valet. Remember when the parking at LAX was $40 a day and now it's $65? Remember when you go to valet, it was $20, now it's $35? That's not 9%. That's 50% and 100%. And it's less likely that they're ever going to go backwards. Once they know they can charge and get away with charging that, they do it consistently. Quick example. ExxonMobil, when the Russia-Ukraine war happened, gasoline prices went through the roof. And all these gasoline companies were blaming the war. What the hell does the war have to do with one segment of our planet for gasoline all over the world? I can answer that. Nothing. You know why? Because ExxonMobil reported their single highest profiting quarter in the history of their 80 years existence. That wasn't because they raised the prices, that they had more costs. They raised the prices because they could. And so you have to think about some of these things that are going on in the world. None of these are conspiracy theories. These are just math in reality. You have to get rich and you have to invest to get wealthy. Is that fair? Okay, so now that I'm done with the doom and gloom, let's walk through it. We're also in the best place in human history to make money. Right now, we are not in a traditional recession, where most people are worried because every 8 to 12 years we have a recession. People feel like we're in a recession. The humongous difference is 15 years ago in 2008, people didn't have ways to make money the way they do now. So the reason we don't have some huge crash like 2008 is 2008, you couldn't Airbnb out your extra bedroom at your house. In 2008, you couldn't sell your sneakers on StockX. In 2008, you couldn't tutor online and teach Spanish or guitar or some chess. You couldn't teach people and make money from your phone. In 2008, you couldn't be a dog walker or a house sitter or use your phone to be a Postmates driver or a Lyft driver or Uber. You get where I'm going? We have modern day cell phone technology and mobile apps that allow us to make more money than ever in human history. So when people go through tough financial times, they can sell their dresses. They can teach people makeup. They can go get extra jobs. They can work double shifts. They can do these things from their cell phones now that never happened before. So when people lose their jobs, which they have and they are and they will, they have ways to make money from their cell phones. Does that make sense? So we are not going to have some crazy crash because people have much more ways to make money this time. Okay. On the medium risk stuff, the three concepts we talked about is real estate, stock market, cash flowing businesses. On the real estate side, you have to think about your couple options. One is fix and flip. You can decide to do a fix and flip yourself, or if you've never done it before, I would co-invest with someone else that's done it a bunch of times. Your friend has done it 20 times, invest in number 21. You look up to someone that you know has done it 500 times, invest with them in number 501. The learning curve is much different for you, what's called the dummy tax. If I try to flip a house and over here, someone like Cole Hatter or Clever Investor, someone that's done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of flips, they're going to buy the property better, faster, smoother, negotiate better. They're going to know the contractor's kids, right? They're a contractor, they know their kids. They're going to get charged different than if I hire a contractor, right? I hire a contractor, they got money eyes. Holy shit, I'm going to charge Dan as much as I can. Cole Hatter hires the same contractor. He's like, oh, we're family friends. I try to hire a plumber, I'm going to get overcharged. He tries to hire a plumber, he knows the wife and children and the parents by name. See the difference? And so when someone is really good at something, they've done it a bunch of times, I would consider co-investing with them into that transaction rather than me try to do it myself. That's called the dummy tax. I get to learn and see it while they're doing it, but I would be researching, learning, studying before I ever step foot to do my first fix and flip. That is considered more high risk because I'm the first time doing it. If someone's doing it for their 27th time, it's not high risk. Does that make sense? They can still lose, but it's much less risk. The other thing to think about when you're investing in the real estate side is you may not afford to be able to go buy a $600K property right now. You might need 20% down, $120,000. You need 30 or 40 grand to remodel it a bit. And let's say you want to buy a fourplex on the outskirts of LA, an hour outside of LA. Well, what you could do is get together with some people here at the Driven event, get 4 or 5 friends together, and you guys pitch in together 20 grand each. That's much more realistic, right? You pitch in 20 grand each, you put together 120 grand, and you pitch in your 20 grand, boom, now you got 140. You go buy that property together, you spend 20, 30 grand remodeling it, change the rent from $1,200 to $1,400. I don't need to teach you guys real estate. There's a lot of real estate people here. And all of a sudden, a year from now, you're back here for Driven 8, and you're with your 5 or 6 friends, and you all put in 20 grand each, and you have a decision to make. You have 3 choices. The property you bought for 600 grand, it might have gone down to 520, it might have gone up to 700. Markets do change. But the fact that you spent money remodeling it and increasing the rent it probably went up. So option 1 is sell it. Option 2, you could refinance it. Do it again. You can either refinance it, pay everybody back, or refinance it, buy fourplex number 2. Option 3, do nothing. Let it ride. Wait till driven 9. Wait till driven 10. But if you choose this one, and every year or two, you guys refinance it, or you guys all pitch in another 20 grand each, you guys put some money together, 20 grand each again, buy number 2. Driven 9, you have 4. Come back for driven 10, you've got 7. You'll blink your eyes and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I'm at driven number 12 and I've got 15 apartment buildings that I own 20% of. That's compounding and that creates wealth because now you have a portfolio. But it's much more realistic because you're doing it in bite-sized chunks, 10, 20 grand at a time. The big thing that I'm emotional and passionate about is everything that I talk about is to do small and medium investments, not any one big investment into one thing. I don't want any one investment that can hurt me or break me. I don't want any one company or one situation or one property that can put me in financial ruins. And so I'd rather take a bunch of small or medium risks into things that I know and reduce my risk by finding things with experience and proven track records. So let me go into the next point. Experience and proven track records are for cash flowing businesses especially. So let's say your friend, she wants to open her first salon. Really excited. She loves hair and makeup. She knows all these people. She's been working at a salon for years. So she has experience. That is high risk. She's not going to get the lease correctly. She doesn't know about management of store hours. Doesn't know how to hire and fire. She doesn't know where to buy the equipment. She's probably going to pay full price for all the equipment or over retail and then pay for rush shipping because she thinks she needs it. She's going to make a lot of mistakes, which is totally fine, but this is high risk for salon number 1. What if you see your friend on Facebook that you haven't seen in years and she posts, hey guys, I'm opening salon number 7. Medium risk, right? Could salon number 7 fail? It could, not that likely. She's probably going to know what to do. She knows scale, operations, staff, team. She knows how to do her merchant account processing right. She knows how to do her hiring, firing. She has a good attorney, an accountant. She knows all of the things to make it medium risk or almost low risk. This is someone that you might want to consider co-investing with. Now, you might not be able to contribute the whole 200 grand or 500 grand or 300 grand she needs, but you could put in 10K or 20K or 30K or 50K as you build up over your career, extra capital into that investment. Her opening location number 7 is really interesting to me. Real life example, I invested into a company called Everbowl. It's an acai bowl chain. I also opened a chain of sports card stores with Gary Vee. The acai bowl chain, in this example, they had 17 locations. I put in 500,000, 2018. 2019, I had a couple friends put in 500 grand each also. End of 2019, I raised $5 million for Everbowl. March 2020, the whole world shut down. Wah, wah, wah. Right? Most restaurants closed down and failed. So me, Cole Hatter, and some friends, we bought all the locations and turned Everbowl into a franchise company and focused on franchises instead of opening up locations on their own. Everbowl went and signed over 280 leases during the shutdown because they could go to landlords and say, I want 12 months of free rent. I want 50 grand of TI, of tenant improvements. What could the landlord say? They can't argue. Who the heck else is crazy enough to go lease restaurant space when the whole world is shut down? Why did we do that? We're betting on America to come back. We're not going to be stuck in our houses forever. And because of that, we raised another $15 million. We now have 75 locations that are open. Drew Brees, the quarterback, just put in $2 million. He bought 150 locations. And all of that came from not being scared during the shutdown. Your goal is to find people like that you can co-invest with. Finding someone that you believe in that's not scared. Finding an entrepreneur that you can co-invest with that's going to open her 7th salon, or your buddy that's going to open up his 10th, whatever, nail salon, dry cleaning company, landscaping, solar, roofing. When someone has proven to you that they can do it, and they have number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, those are really interesting people to co-invest with and own pieces of those type of businesses, because you can bet on them that they're going to figure it out. When you find situations like that and stick with it, that can become things that lead to long-term wealth, because they might let you invest into location number 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, etc. Your job is to make money and income from your core business. So if you're in the real estate space, you're a personal trainer, you're a chef, you're a financial planner, an accountant, an insurance agent, your job is to make money from your core business and then deploy a percentage of it into investments that you feel comfortable with. If you do that on a consistent basis, it will blow your mind what can happen over the course of time. After this weekend is over, I want you to go on Google, or if you get bored tonight in your hotel room, and look up compound calculator. Just Google search compound calculator. Put in your age. So let's say you're 32 years old. Put in the fact that you're going to contribute like 12 grand a year. Okay. You're making 60 grand a year. You're going to contribute 12 grand a year to investing. You're 32 years old, 12 grand a year, you're going to contribute. And then put in 8% a year. And then lastly, you put in your retirement age. So let's say you want to retire at 72. That's 40 years of investing 12 grand a year, right? Now, over the course of your career, you could invest more or less, but hopefully you can invest more. Let's just call it 12 grand a year, 8% a year, 32 years old, retire at 72. Guess how much is going to be in that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow? It's not a couple $100,000. You think about it like, oh yeah, 40 times 12,000, that's going to be 480,000 I contribute over the 40 years. That means you're going to have $3.2 to $4.8 million saved up at the end. And you have access to the money all along the way. But if you're smart about it and you just keep doing that over and over and over, you're going to have this nest egg. That's something that you can retire with. That's something that you can leave a legacy with your family. That's something that your grandkids can have. And it's a realistic amount. I didn't say, oh yeah, put half your check in every year forever. If you're making 30, 40, 50, 60 grand, you can put in 3, 4, 5, 6 grand a year, right? You could spend 5 or 10 or 20% less on things to contribute to investing for your long-term wealth. But if you really want to blow your mind, raise your hand if you have kids. Imagine if you did this for a 7-year-old. What if you put 2 grand a year, $1,000, $500, $1,000, 2 grand every year for a 7-year-old? What would happen in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years? They become 30 years old, they're about to get married, and all of a sudden they've got $600,000 because you were pitching in 2 grand, 5 grand, 3 grand, 8 grand each year. At the birthday parties, you told everybody, hey, don't bring presents, pitch in $50, $100, $200 to their house fund or their college fund. You know what their college fund would look like if you started that when they're 4 years old? It would pay for college. Just by putting in a small amount year after year. So I want you guys to think about that for your personal lives. Building long-term wealth is taking a small amount of your consistent capital, the money that's coming in, and contributing it to something that's safe and long-term. And if you do that over the course of time, you will always have a nest egg to protect you from no matter what happens in the world. The stock market. The stock market is what people get nervous about. They're like, oh my God, the stocks go up and down. The media says this, and Tesla's price went down, but then it went back up. What do I do? Only thing that I do is I buy, invest in companies that I believe in will be here for many, many years. Do me a favor. Who has an iPhone in here? Great. How many of you have Apple stock? So every year or two, you spend $1,200 to $1,500 for a phone, but you don't have $1,200 to $1,500 of Apple stock. Do you realize that if you just every year for the last 14 years bought Apple stock, you would be an actual millionaire? Not like a funny haha joke. Like if you bought $1,200 to $1,400 of stock in Apple since it started when iPhone 1, you would have more than $1 million. A lot more. Does anybody think Apple will still be here in 10 years? I do. Buy some Apple stock. It's going to have fluctuations along the way that are irrelevant because a $1 trillion company will become worth $2 trillion and then $3 trillion and $4 trillion over the course of time. So if you like the iPhone 15, you're probably like the number 16 and 17, 18. Who here has ever shopped at Walmart? You don't have to raise your hands. I know, all of you. I go there all the time. It's great. When things are going bad in the world, Walmart does great. When things are going good in the world, Walmart does great. I want to own some stock. This isn't rocket science, right? I invest into companies that I know that myself, family, friends go shop at or buy on a consistent basis. Who likes Netflix? Who likes Tesla? Who uses Google? None of this is rocket science, right? I'm buying and investing into things that I never want to sell. Why would I ever sell my Google stock? Why? Why would I ever sell Netflix stock when Netflix keeps adding more subscribers? Why would I ever sell Tesla stock when every freaking year Elon Musk breaks records? No matter what the media says about him, he breaks records year after year after year. I want to bet on him. So if anybody here has a Tesla, how dare you not have some Tesla stock? You spend $70,000 on a car and you don't even have $7,000 worth of stock? Why? Remember the example I said about iPhone? Well, what the heck would you think? The same exact story applies. What if you bought Tesla stock for the last 15 years? You would be a multi-millionaire from doing nothing. You just go on E-Trade or Robinhood or any of these apps, and in freaking 34 seconds, you can buy $500 of stock. And then when you get some extra money, you buy $1,000 and then $200 and $2,000. It's called dollar cost averaging. The price is irrelevant to you. I don't care what the price of Disney, Apple, Microsoft, Google, Netflix, I don't care about their stock price at all. I care about the company. Do I think that Apple, Netflix, Google, Microsoft, Walmart will be here in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Yes. Buy it. And then buy it again, and buy it again, and buy small amounts that you're comfortable with over and over and over. And if you do some of the things that we're talking about here, and you mix it up, and sometimes you put in some money into real estate, sometimes it's into a CD that makes 6%, sometimes it's in the stock market, you'll blink your eyes in 3 or 4 or 5 years, like, whoa, Dan told me to put like $12,000 a year in all this stuff, $1,000 a month, $500 a month, all these things. And you're back here 4 years later, you're like, shoot, I got $150,000 saved up. I own a piece of 3 fourplexes. I've got $60,000 in stock. I've got, see where I'm going? It's just consistency of small, medium things that you can afford to do, and it will drive you at work. It gets addicting. The reason I invest so much is it's addicting because now I've been figuring out the game. The game is find people with experience, find companies with experience, find realtors with experience, and just co-invest with them and do it over and over and over and over and over. And then everything that I make from my core job, my core business, is to, boom, invest into those things. And if you do that in your life, you will set yourself up for wealth. Okay, I'm going to take off my real estate hat. Let's talk about personal branding. So on the personal branding side, is that good? Is that okay? Okay. I'm really, truly passionate about it. Like, I typically charge a lot for speaking. I come to Albert for free every single time, and I'll always be free for him because I care about his audience. I love what he talks about, and I love you guys. Like, it's. So, on the personal branding side, you have a personal brand, whether you like it or not. This is what's hard for people to accept. Some people are like, oh, I'm not on social media. I don't have a personal brand. Your neighbors, your coworkers, your strangers, the people that think about you in your job, school, life, kids, friends, everybody around, they have a perception of you, which is your personal brand. And you have a decision to make. You can tell your story or let them tell it for you. You can showcase your life and the things that you want to, or let them gossip about you and not know anything. They might just know you as the single mom with 3 kids. They don't know that you do real estate. They don't know that you know how to be a private chef They don't know that you're also a personal trainer. They don't know that you know how to make custom dresses. They don't know that you actually love to travel and go hiking. They don't know those things because they just see you outside once in a while as a single mom with 3 kids going to school. That's it. You're like, well, why would I want them to know that I do those things? Well, what if you got a client to buy real estate from you? What if you got a client for personal training? What if you got a client to buy custom dresses from you? What if you got a client to buy healthy meals from you? So things that you like, things that you do already, why not showcase it to the world? How do you showcase it? I'm going to break down the 4 main reasons that you're scared of social media. And if I do that, I have one request. If I can make you less scared about social media, will you promise to do it a little bit more? Okay. Fear number 1, it's expensive. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Threads, TikTok. Free, 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 free. All of them are free.